Welcome to the AUA News Inside Track podcast, an official podcast of the American Urological Association. Thanks for listening. Today's episode is part of the SAU AUA Urology Match Insider series, developed by the Society of Academic Urologists in partnership with the American Urological Association. The SAU AUA Urology Match Insider series provides medical students interested in the field of urology an inside look into the Urology Residency Match process. The Urology Residency Match is owned and governed by the Society of Academic Urologists and administered by the American Urological Association. For more episodes of this podcast, please visit www.auanet.org/podcast.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode in the AUA podcast series. My name is Vivian Wang, and I'm a current MS4 at the University of Pittsburgh. Today, we'll be gearing this episode towards upcoming applicants in the urology match and sort of giving you all an overview of what you can expect, timelines, and FAQs that were submitted from students. And with that, I'm really excited to introduce you all to our two amazing guests, Dr. Gina Badalato and Dr. Traxel from the SAU, who are going to lend their expertise and their perspectives. So welcome, and thank you both for being here today.
Thank you, Vivian. It's great to be here.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk with everyone about this.
Great. And so just to kind of kick things off, if you guys could give a brief introduction of what brings you to the SAU and like what perspectives you bring to the table today, I think that would be super helpful for the audience.
I can go first. I'm Gina Badalato. I'm an associate professor of urology at Columbia in New York, and the vice chair of education. I've been involved with student and resident career advising throughout my career, and I am grateful for the opportunity to work with the SAU on many of these topics and projects. As many of you know, the SAU is dedicated to really advancing their careers, cultivating and enriching academicians in urology, many of whom are program directors, leaders, and medical student clerkship directors, so people that interface directly with students. And also the SAU runs and oversees the match process, which I know we're going to talk a lot more about during this podcast.
And I'll take the baton then. I'm Traxel. I'm a pediatric urologist based at St. Louis Children's Hospital and an associate professor of urologic surgery at Washington University in St. Louis, where I was formerly the Urology Residency Program Director. I'm also formerly a member of the SAU board, but still currently very involved and on the SAU Medical Student Interest and Resident Recruitment Committee. And one of the most rewarding aspects of my career has been to mentor medical students through their professional identity formation, in particular guiding them through the urology residency application process in order to help grow our future urology workforce. So I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for the chance to talk about this very important topic.
Yeah, and thank you guys both again. And I just wanted to say as well, like, it's very encouraging to see three women and three people like interested and involved in this urology space. So really excited to have you both today. I guess we'll just kick it off, and maybe for students who aren't necessarily applying this upcoming cycle or about maybe thinking about applying urology, wanted to ask you guys, like, why does urology have its own match, and how does it differ from the NRMP and kind of other specialties that go through the other match process?
That's a challenging question. That question has been a popular one since I was applying as a medical student in urology. I think Dr. Traxel and I kind of talked a little bit about this before the podcast, but the urology match has been an early match since 1985, so quite some time. And originally, urology was part of a group of other fairly competitive surgical subspecialties that had this advanced timeline, including ENT, ophthalmology, and urology. And while ENT has migrated towards the regular match timeline with the NRMP, which is the National Resident Matching Program, or the timeline that many other residency programs participate in, urology has remained an early match. And the advantage, there are advantages and disadvantages, as you can imagine. But the main advantage is that this allows people some time and an early decision to potentially participate in the NRMP at some point in the future if their career plans change in terms of what their interests were, if they were originally intending to be a urologist and maybe change their minds, or apply in the NRMP match at some point if the urology match didn't work out, either as a prelim position or another position. No, Dr. Traxel, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to share, obviously, our hopes are that everyone who applies through the match is successful in matching into urology, but we do know historically, of course, not everyone who does apply in deep matches. The rate has varied from year to year, but on average, it's about 80% or so. And so we want to be able to provide other avenues to those applicants who don't match in urology. It may be that they choose to do something else for a year and then reapply again the following year. But there are many applicants who do have a plan B that is running, you could say, concurrently in the background, where at the same time that they're applying to urology, they're also applying to something that falls within the regular NRMP match. The SAU, as they're deciding their timetable for the match timeline, they're very aware of the deadlines for the NRMP match, so that results from the urology match come out in a timeline that would permit someone to turn around and just that fast submit a rank order list to the NRMP match so that they could then apply in the regular match if they did not successfully match in the urology match. So that is one of the potential benefits to the early match timeline for urology, is that it does give people an opportunity for a plan B if they don't match in urology.
Gotcha. And I think that was a really great overview of the history, the kind of historical aspect, and then why it's maybe a benefit to applicants as well. I guess that kind of ties into a topic that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in, which is kind of the timeline of the urology match. So if either you could take this and kind of explain how the timeline works and what applicants can really expect from the chronology of the match process.
Yeah, so I'm happy to take the lead on explaining the timeline. And of course, Gina, anywhere along the way, feel free to jump in. So at this point, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. People cannot start actively doing things, if you will, until next month, in the month of June. At that point, that's when ERAS application registration begins. So ERAS is the electronic residency application system. And that is the centralized system that will act as a clearinghouse and as a repository for all of the applicants' application materials, if you will, so they can start to register with ERAS next month. Just to be clear, because urology is a match that is apart on its own, in order to participate in the urology match, applicants do have to register with the AUA, with the American Urological Association. So just want to be clear about that. If you're planning on applying to the urology match, you do need to register with the AUA. And the registration for that can begin in June, but registration doesn't officially close until the same day that the rank order lists must be submitted, the end of December. So that being said, my goodness, if you're already going through the process and interviews and everything else, maybe a good idea not to wait until the very last minute to register for the urology match. And then it's early September that the preference signaling system opens, to where the applicants can go in and indicate where they want to allocate their preference signals. And I think we're going to talk more about preference signals later on in the podcast, so I won't get into details there. But just to be clear, preference signals need to be allocated in advance of when ERAS applications open up for review by the programs. The idea is it is a coordinated release the same day that programs can open up ERAS and begin reviewing applications. That same date, preference signals are revealed, if you will, to the program, so they know which of the applicants have sent preference signals their way. And so that's usually the last week or so of September, whenever everything opens up for programs to begin reviewing applications and to see which preference signals have been sent to them. And then it's about a month later that, after program directors have been frantically and furiously reviewing all of these applications, that we have our Universal Interview Invitation Day. It used to be that invitations for interviews were sent out on a rolling basis. And who knows, any day after ERAS opened up, the programs could begin sending invitations for interviews out to applicants, which really led to a lot of churning because, for instance, if an applicant received an invitation from program A to interview and thought, my goodness, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and they said, yes, please, thank you very much. And then a week later, they received an invitation from program B, which maybe they were a little more interested in. They would go back and decline the original invitation to program A, thereby leaving an opening in program A's potential spots for interviews, such that then program A turns around and sends out new invitations to new applicants. And it really led to a lot of churning and, frankly, chaos within the process. And so several years ago, the SAU said that there will be a universal interview invitation date, and that's always on a Friday, the end of October. At that point, we want all of the applicants to spend the weekend considering their options, seeing all of the invitations that have been sent out to them. Mind you, on that same date, they are supposed to hear from every program to which they have applied. It's either, hey, we would really appreciate you coming to interview with us on this specific date, or you have been placed on our wait list, or no, thank you, we are not interested in your application. You're supposed to hear from every single program on that Friday. Then over the weekend, the applicant can consider all of their interview invitations, figure out if there are conflicts, prioritize which programs they do want to accept interviews at, and then it is the following Monday that they are supposed to then respond to all of those invitations. After all of those responses have gone in, and I believe it's usually around 1 p.m. Central Time, that's the deadline, pardon me, Eastern Time, that's usually the deadline for responding to all of those invitations. At that point, then, programs can begin sending out, if you will, their second wave of invitations, which leads me to the next day, Tuesday, which we have appropriately called Flush Day. So if in the second wave of invitations, an applicant receives an invitation that they say, oh, wow, I actually would rather go interview with that program, but it conflicts with something I already accepted, that is their day, that is their opportunity to flush away the first invitation in order to accept a later invitation. But once Flush Day has ended, applicants are supposed to honor all of their commitments, all the programs to which they said, yes, I would like to interview with you. And it should go without saying also, these programs, as they are sending out these invitations, this is something that the programs must honor as well. When they send out an invitation, it is guaranteed that there is a spot for an interview for that applicant. So then after we have figured out who is interviewing where and when, the interview season lasts about 2 months, and then it is the end of December. At that point, then everyone has a chance to consider all of their options, and then again, registration ends at the same time that rank order lists need to be submitted, both by the applicants as well as by the programs in the end of December. And then everyone sits tight for a while and we wait for the AUA to run the logistics of the match. And then beginning this last year, we developed the process for the secondary match, which is something we intend to continue because we got very favorable feedback. But the idea is about a week before the official final match results come out, notifying all of the applicants the program to which they matched, as well as notifying the programs which applicants matched with them. About a week before that, that's when everyone receives initial notification. The applicants find out they did or did not match. They don't find out where at that point if they matched. Similarly, programs find out Did they fill all of their slots, or do they have any vacancies still left? And then the next day after that initial notification is when the secondary match process opens up, where unmatched applicants can send through ERAS their application materials to any programs that have vacancies. And there's about 6 days then before the official final match results come out, where everybody learns the specifics of the match. Applicants learn which program they match to. Now, the secondary match date and that initial notification, if you will, that date was specifically designed to occur before the NRMP match registration deadline transpires. So if someone learns on that notification date, oh no, I didn't match in a urology residency program, they still have the opportunity to turn around, officially register for the NRMP match, and then a few days after that is when their rank order list for the NRMP match would be due. So I know that was a lot of information and a long protracted timeline. Gina, did you have anything to add to that?
I think that was a fantastic overview and kind of highlighted the interface between the urology match and the NRMP, and kind of thought choreography behind the timeline for both. And I do think the SAU will be hosting some webinars to go into more detail closer to probably in September or late August. But this is an excellent overview that Dr. Traxel has given.
And along those lines, it's not posted yet because all of the final details are being worked out, but the SAU has a website, sauweb.org, and it is a tremendous resource for everyone, both applicants and programs, as they're going through the match. It has once it's posted, a very well laid out match timeline with all of these important dates listed so that everyone's on the same page and there's no confusion over when all of these different deadlines and important dates will transpire. So sauweb.org.
Definitely plugging that SAU website, like Dr. Traxel was saying. And thank you so much for giving that really comprehensive and really good overview of, especially with the integration with the NRMP timeline for other specialties that applicants might be considering as well. I think maybe moving along and kind of trying to do a deeper dive into the match process. Do you guys have any tidbits and kind of things you wanted to share about the different match policies and rules that applicants should keep in mind, especially as it relates to like match violations and what's allowed and not allowed?
Yeah, I think Dr. Traxel outlined a lot. So with the match timeline, the communication is also regulated so that the applicant really should be communicating with the program in the context of an interview, and then there shouldn't really be communication outside of that. Definitely the SAU doesn't endorse second looks, which is when an applicant would go back to a program after their interview and continue to kind of look under the hood and see the day-to-day of that program. That's not something that is allowed. It's okay to write a thank you note. It's okay to, to send a brief email afterwards thanking programs for the interview. Students can reach out to a program after if they want to say, I plan to rank your program 1 or to declare something like that, but there really shouldn't be an exchange of communication between the program and the applicant after the interview. And program directors and leadership are really discouraged from responding to those emails. So I wouldn't, as a student, take it personally if you don't receive a response. And really look critically at the deadlines and the dates for when you accept an interview and when the interview is binding, because if you reach out to a program before kind of the appointed date where you can formally accept an interview, like Dr. Traxel is outlining, that technically is a match violation because you're supposed to wait on the appointed day to accept an interview. And then you really shouldn't break any interview commitments after that flush day. So that is binding. So you have to keep those commitments. You can continue to accrue more interviews, but any interviews you've already accepted, you should go on. Now students, so on the SAU website, you can report a match violation, or if you feel like that's something that you have experienced. Really, students shouldn't be asked about any of the P's. We say the pregnancy status, parental status, pre-existing conditions, or preferences. So how they intend to rank programs, in order to kind of respect every applicant's right to confidentiality. So you should also be aware of what you're entitled to as an applicant. So there are rules both ways, and they're all, again, delineated on the website.
Just for clarification as well, because I'm sure some people will be wondering, are you referring to like those questions not being able to be asked at any point in the process, in the interview process? Like, kind of, when do these match violations typically occur for students' perspectives?
So this is the code of conduct surrounding the match. So a lot of this pertains to kind of the interview question and events associated with the interview day.
Okay.
So that's the part that the SAU kind of oversees. But I wouldn't, these, if it, are you asking kind of, is this comes up in casual conversation on a sub internship? Is this something different, or am I misunderstanding?
I guess I think I've had some students ask me about like what are some examples of match violations after the interview process. So like kind of things. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is that programs really should not be contacting you, and you should expect to be ghosted, and that is a good thing. And everything is like in order if you are not hearing from programs. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
That's a good way to frame it, I think. Yeah. Now, just a point of clarification, because a lot of those questions that Dr. Badalato was outlining really are digging into people's personal lives in an inappropriate way. But it shouldn't be confused with a program. They might ask the applicant, perhaps even at the time of sending them an interview invitation, if you have a significant other who is also applying this year for a residency match, please let us know. And that's because there are some programs who then might reach out to the program to which the significant other is applying at their institution, just to make them aware of the situation, since there is no formal couples match within the urology match. And so that's just trying to help out those two applicants, if you will. No one is making any promises that the significant other would be invited for an invitation, but they're just trying to make everyone aware of the circumstances. And I think that that is not a violation of the match code of conduct. But those other questions that Dr. Badalato was referring to, I would say at any point in time, those should not be asked of the applicant.
Great. And I think that's super helpful for applicants to understand. And kind of going along with that for couples, the kind of pseudo couples matching in urology that sometimes happens, and kind of what we were just talking about, when should applicants notify, like when in the process should they be notifying their programs that they're applying to about a potential partner or someone that's doing the couples, kind of the pseudo couples match with them?
Yeah, I think that I like the way you've titled that, Vivian, as a pseudo couples match, because it's an attempt to kind of orchestrate something that maybe is not intentionally synchronized. But I think that I've had people, so we have never prompted people to disclose that, but some people have brought it up as a point on an interview. So we'll ask, what did you do this weekend? What are your hobbies? And they'll work in, I enjoy doing X with my partner who is also applying in this, and somehow intentionally work it into the conversation on the interview. I think that it's completely up to the applicant how they want to integrate that into the experience. I personally find that it's rare for two couples to be matching both in the early match, so two urologists or a urologist and an ophthalmologist. And so there is a different level of commitment when you have matched a resident and you want your resident to be happy to have their kind of their partner nearby. And that's when a lot of sometimes after, I think that there's some role to let the program know in advance, again, working into the interview if you've done a sub internship. But definitely after the match, that's when you really want to talk to your residency program leadership and let them know, and where the advocacy can really be powerful, because now that is truly your resident and you want them to be happy. And sometimes that means working within your own institution, again, depending on connections and the density of other programs. Like many times for these couple matches, people target larger cities where there's a density of different programs that they can target. So sometimes it's also helping them find outreach outside of their institution. So I think that there's many layers of when this can be introduced. There's definitely a strategy behind it. Think about whether you want to introduce it on an interview. Definitely think, the advocacy is powerful after you've matched. And then the couple should really strategize with their medical school deans and thinking globally, looking at both applications, what locations they want to target and the relative competitiveness of the two programs. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done behind the scenes at kind of the medical school level too.
And I think even predating getting to the point of the interview and the match itself, a lot of couples can be very strategic about where they might choose to do visiting sub-internship rotation. They might choose to do visiting rotations at the same institution. They might choose to do visiting rotations in the same city as each other, so that they are then potentially increasing their likelihood of matching at the same program or within the same city.
That's great. I think this is kind of a topic that I haven't seen a lot out there about. So just even hearing it from you both is super helpful. And I'm sure it'll be very helpful for all the people considering so-called pseudo couples matching this cycle. Hopefully I didn't trademark that term.
Just gonna say you've coined the phrase now.
So I think, we're kind of going towards the end of our time just for this podcast. And I wanted to make sure I kind of ask you both, where can applicants really find the best verified information, either the information we just talked about or as things keep getting updated? Where would you guys recommend applicants go to?
Well, I think just to plug it yet again, SAUweb.org. So that is the website for the Society of Academic Urologists. And that's where I would say the truth lives, if you will, and not only in terms of the match timeline, but there's also multiple pages about what is the code of conduct. If you do believe there's a match violation, what is the process? Where can you report that? I would say also, if you have a mentor at your home institution as an applicant, chances are they are very familiar with the match process as well and have probably previously helped to shepherd other applicants through the urology match process. And so they could be a tremendous resource as well.
I was just echoing what Dr. Traxel is saying, and so there will be a timeline and also some webinars. So this is why it's also important to register for the AUA, because then you'll be on a list server for webinars, which will be you'll get these announcements, but also this will be on the SAU webpage as well.
Great. So I'm hearing that applicants this cycle should check out the SAU website, and they should also make sure to sign up for the AUA listserv so that they can get the most up-to-date information. And then I guess the last couple things I'd pose to you both is, number one, what's the biggest myth you kind of hear about the urology match that maybe you'd want to clear up, or something that you feel like applicants don't know or you think they should know about the process?
Yeah, I think that every program may be looking for something that's a little bit different. And so there is no cookie cutter applicant. I talk to people who are nervous because they don't feel that they have enough publications or they're disappointed in this, that, the other thing. But it's not one particular thing. It's the whole package. It's what you bring. It is you. And that's why I do think that the interview is so powerful, because they're looking at you as a whole person, not as these little parts. And so don't dwell too much about one area if that's not your strength. Play to your strengths. Is it that you've done great clinically during your rotations? Is it that you're great at a particular leadership role? Is it that you enjoy certain type of research? Nobody is expert at all of these categories. There's some people that have excelled in one more than another, but don't dwell on your weaknesses. A program is made up of all different parts and people that bring all different strengths. So you will enhance the program by just being you and be confident in what you bring.
I think that's a great point. Along those lines, really the entire process, it's not meant to weed anyone out. It's not meant to identify, oh, these are the top tier applicants and everyone's fighting over them. The whole process from start to finish really is intended to determine which applicants are a good, and you'll hear the term many times over, fit with which programs, because there's such a spectrum of applicants as well as such a spectrum of programs. And it's no one size fits all. And so everyone should really consider all of their options. You'll hear about certain top tier, more competitive residency programs, and then someone might think, gosh, if I can't match there. But, all of these residency programs are overseen by the ACGME Residency Review Committee to ensure that they are meeting the standards required for urologic residency training. And so these are all fantastic programs, and it's important for the applicant to really know themselves, know what they are looking for in a program, so that they are ultimately, hopefully, going to match with a program where they will find the training that they need and want to prepare them for their career after residency training.
Well, thank you guys both for just clarifying so many things, giving us a great overview of the timeline and what people can expect in the upcoming match process. I think, thank you both again so much for taking some time today to talk with us. And I think we're going to take a pause here. There's going to be actually a part 2 to this Inside the Urology Match podcast. So please watch out for that. Please tune in for that. And we'll just stop this here today. And thank you guys again so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
This has been an AUA News Inside Track podcast. To hear more episodes of this podcast, visit www.auanet.org/podcast.